Are you thinking about picking up a Fender Blues Jr.? Well, if you're interested in what this amp sounds like, we've got that for you today, right here on GearGasms. Hi kids, welcome to GearGasms. I'm your host, Alan Barnes. Today, we're going to be taking a brief look, a short overview of the Fender Blues Jr. It's a 15-watt amp. We'll go through all the specs in just a minute. This beauty here, I've had it for about a year and a half. I haven't really played it much because it really isn't in my wheelhouse for the kinds of tones that I normally go for. But if you like playing blues and classic rock, it does all those tones just amazingly well. We're going to go through all the settings. We're going to talk about this amp. We're going to play through it. We're going to let you hear it. But first, the data. Of course, the Fender Blues Jr. 15 watts, 12-inch Jensen vintage voice speaker. It's got the Tweed, beautiful leather handle. It's got 3 12AX preamp tubes and one EL34 power tube. Everything goes to 12 on this amp. You got reverb, master, middle, bass, and treble, a fat switch, volume control, single input, gorgeous Tweed shell. Down here in the bottom, you can see the reverb tank. If you look inside the back there, I don't know if you can see it, kids. Looks like they use groove tubes in here for the preamp, possibly the power amp as well. All right, we've got the basic Fender Mexican player Strat. This is my son's guitar. I got it for him almost a year ago tomorrow for his 16th birthday. It's the standard Alnico pickups, straight up basic Fender to a basic Fender Blues Jr. tube amp, kind of entry level into the good stuff. So I'll give you a little taste of how it sounds. All the EQs at noon, just a touch of reverb, straight up bridge pickup. Of course, if you've got to get your redneck on, it'll do the whole Sweet Home Alabama thing. A little bit of neck pickup. Now, a word about the reverb. This is the third version, the III version. And they've tamed the reverb just a little bit because this reverb is a lot. You can't go over 3. I'm going to show you. It's currently on 2 right now. Let's crank it to 4 out of 12. That's on 4. Watch me crank it up. All the way. All right, without even farting around with the EQs, this thing has a fat switch we talked about earlier. I'm going to punch it and see if it gives me a little more ass. First, I'll let you hear it without the fatty fat. As you can see, it gives it a lot more life. I like the fat switch. The fat switch and me are friends. Pull the reverb back just another squunch. All right, let's futz around with the EQ just a little bit. Everything's at noon currently. Let's take the mids down and leave everything flat. First, I'll give you we'll stay on this pickup to get rid of the hum. I'll give you just a deal D chord. You want some D? You're looking for some D? You came to the right place. Let's take some mids out of that. Put some mids back in. Mids all the way up. Now, if you'll notice, it's not radically different. There's 12 numbers on this amp, on the volume, on everything. It's 1 to 12 instead of 1 to 10. I think they're trying to be cute. The EQ is just not as powerful in this. It seems to be very subtle, plus or minus, cut and boost. So we'll show you again straight up. Now we'll boost the booty all the way up. All the way down. Now I find that to be very musical. It's an EQ that just allows you to change the tint a little bit. It doesn't radically carve it out. It's certainly not like a really, really strong parametric or even a graphic EQ. It's more of a subtle season to taste kind of thing. This thing has its own voice, and you can fart around a lot with the EQ to sort of dial it in to make it sweet to your ears, but you're not going to do mid-scooped or get radically crazy EQ bass sounds with this little beast right here. We'll give you some treble just so you can feel it. We'll use the egg slicer pickup. Back the treble all the way down. Now most amps, when you turn the treble all the way down, it sounds like you threw a wet sock over it. Conversely, you turn the treble all the way up, it makes you cover your ears, and all the dogs and the cats in the neighborhood take off a running. But like I said before, the EQ curve that they've designed into these controls is very subtle, and I actually kind of like that about the amp. You're not going to force this amp to be something it's not. If you love what it is, it'll do that for you, it'll be that for you, but you're not going to do a whole lot of stuff with the EQ. Oh, before I forget, it's t-shirt shout out time. Nothing says Fender Blues Jr. like Iron Maiden, kids. Well, not really, but maybe if Eddie played guitar, he might rock a Blues Jr. The dudes in Iron Maiden, certainly they rock some Stratocasters on the stage, so maybe it's not too much of a stretch to say our boy Edward might rock a Blues Jr. Who knows? GearGasms number of the week, $5.99. That's what one of these things will set you back new. That's pretty cheap for a tube amp. It's certainly one of the least expensive tube amps on the market. And you get a lot of amp for your money. It's 15 very loud watts. It's good stuff. All right, we've farted around with the EQ a little bit. We've shown you that it's just pretty subtle. It's a really, really nice tone shaping tool, but again, this ain't a fractal. It ain't a helix. It's certainly not a Mesa Boogie. The EQ is very, very tame on this one. Very understated. So let's fart around with a little bit of juice. This has a master volume control as well as a channel. It's all tubes. All right, I've got the volume. Let's peg it. This is maxed preamp volume. Master's on about 3. This is as kind of rock and roll as this thing's going to get on its own. Although if you saw another video I did with this thing in the Wampler Pinnacle, it takes pedals very, very well. So it's got the distortion, for lack of a better term. The preamp is maxed. The master is on just a little hair over 2 there. Let's see how ugly we can make this thing. This is about as hairy as it gets. Ooh, lots of noise. All right, this is pretty much the max gain you're going to get out of it. I'll even punch the fat switch in there. Which that's a really great electric blues tone. Again, there's no metal in this unless you have some pedals, but just wanted to show you this thing straight up, no trickery. See what happens at high gain. We'll pull the mids out. We'll scoop this son bitch. Well, kids, that wraps up a very, very hot episode of GearGasms. We're in the middle of a heat wave here in the Mid-Atlantic area. It's been damn near 100 degrees every day for the last week. Finally going to get some relief tonight. Praise Jesus, because it has been hot, and it's hot in the studio with all this light. So what have we learned today, kids? We've learned that Alan sucks major donkey, extra grande donkey when it comes to playing blues, roots, country, Americana. That's just not in my wheelhouse. If you sat through this whole video, you know that's true. Hopefully I at least played well enough where you could hear the kinds of tones you can get from this amp. We've learned that the EQ section, despite going from 0 to 12 and trying to be cutesy, it's really kind of subtle. You're not going to radically carve this thing up with EQ. It has a voice. It stays true to the voice all along its range. We've learned that the fat switch really punches the mids up in a way that I find really, really ear-pleasing. As always, I thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe. We're making all kinds of money on this YouTube platform. I've currently made $8.63 in the last month just by throwing ads on these videos. I know you're jealous. That's okay. I'm sitting on mad fat stacks. Make sure you leave some comments, but whatever you do, please keep coming back week after week, and I hope to see you here again on GearGasms.